In 1973, the Egyptian army crossed the Suez Canal with Soviet-supplied tanks and punched straight through the Israeli defensive line in a single morning. Within 72 hours, both sides had lost more tanks than most NATO members currently field in their entire inventory. Both armies were using what their governments called modern tanks. They were not the same thing. One side had crews who could see in the dark. The other was firing optically aimed guns into dust and smoke and hoping. The gap wasn't armor, it wasn't caliber, it was the ability to find the enemy before the enemy found them. And act on that information faster than a human being under fire is naturally capable of acting. That is what a tank hierarchy is. Let's get into it. Level 1. The legacy platform, the T-55, the Type 59, the M60 Patton in its original unmodified form. Designed in the 1950s and early 1960s, manufactured in the tens of thousands, and still in active service with more than 30 militaries around the world today. You do not buy a Level 1 tank. You inherit it. These vehicles arrived as Cold War military aid and are now operated by crews whose fathers may have trained on the same platform. The main gun is typically a 100mm or 105mm rifled cannon. Against another Level 1 tank at the right range with a trained crew, it is lethal. Against anything higher on this list, the outcome depends almost entirely on who is not looking in the right direction at the right moment. The gun is not the limitation. Everything around it is. Night vision on a baseline T-55 is either absent or relies on active infrared. Fire control is fully manual. The gunner estimates range visually, adjusts for wind and movement in their head, and fires. The crews who operate Level 1 tanks are often genuinely skilled. They know their platforms, they've drilled on them for years, and they're not being asked to fight Abrams tanks in open desert. They're holding ground, suppressing infantry, telling a regional neighbor or a domestic opposition that armored capability exists here, and that changes calculations even when the vehicle itself would not survive a peer engagement. It is a real capability. It is just not a modern one. Level 2. The upgraded legacy. Level 2 is the answer to a specific budget problem. Your tanks are 30 to 40 years old. A full fleet replacement is 15 years away in any realistic procurement timeline. And your regional adversary just upgraded their fire control. The solution is not a new tank. It is a new brain inside the old one. Think of the T-72M1 with a modern Czech or Polish fire control retrofit, the M60T Sabra, which Turkey developed with Israeli assistance and still operates today. Poland's PT-91 Twardy. These are not new tanks. They are old platforms given perceptual capability their original designers never anticipated. A credible Level 2 upgrade package runs roughly $2 to $5 million per vehicle. Here is what actually changes at Level 2. Thermal imaging is not a night vision upgrade. It is a total situational awareness upgrade. Dust, smoke, driving rain, the heat signature of an engine idling behind a ridgeline at 2 kilometers. Thermal sees through conditions where optical systems see nothing at all. From here, the gap becomes structural, because Level 3 is not a better equipped version of Level 2. It is a machine designed from the ground up to do something Level 2 can only approximate. Level 3. The second generation, February 1991. A column of Iraqi T-72s moves through a dust storm that has reduced visibility to almost nothing. The American M1A1 Abrams crews opposite them can see through it clearly, because thermal imaging treats a dust storm as an inconvenience, not an obstacle. The Iraqis never saw the Abrams. The Abrams crews engaged at ranges beyond 2,000 meters. The engagement was decided before it qualified as a battle. Level 3 vehicles include the Leopard 2A4, the M1A1 Abrams in its baseline configuration, and the early Challenger 2. Export packages for modernized variants have been sold in the range of $8 to $15 million per vehicle. What matters is not the price. It is what the price buys. A gun stabilization system means the commander and gunner can engage targets while moving at full speed across broken terrain. Not stopped, not slowed, but moving. The ballistic computer resolves the firing solution in under a second. The crew does not aim. The crew confirms. Who fields Level 3? A NATO ally with a credible conventional threat on its border and the training infrastructure to exploit what a Level 3 tank actually offers. Because here's the thing about Level 3 that the spec sheet does not say: a Level 3 tank with an undertrained crew is not a Level 3 capability. It is an expensive Level 2 problem. If you're finding this useful? Subscribe. Stay with it, because the next 4 levels are where the architecture gets genuinely different. The capability gap from Level 4 upward is not linear. It is a step change. Level 4, the networked MBT, 1 tank spots, 4 tanks fire. The enemy vehicle is engaged from multiple vectors simultaneously before its crew has finished identifying the threat. That is the Level 4 difference. Not a better gun, not more armor, shared perception. Platforms in this category include the M1A2 SEP, the Leopard 2A6 in later variants, and South Korea's K2 Black Panther. New build K2 units have been exported at prices reportedly in the range of $8 to $13 million per vehicle in government contracts, though final values vary by volume and offset arrangements. The Leopard 2A6 in new build configuration sits in a similar range for European customers. The digital battle management system does what the radio used to do, but faster, more accurately, and without the friction of voice communication under fire. Every crew knows where every friendly vehicle is. Every crew sees the same picture of the battlefield. The formation stops being 4 separate decision-making units and starts behaving like one distributed system. The catch, and it is a real one, is that Level 4 hardware running without the supporting digital infrastructure performs at Level 3. The network is the weapon. The tank is the terminal. Level 5. The protected platform. For most of the history of armored warfare, the equation was fixed. A determined infantry unit with the right missile could destroy any tank. The Level 5 is the first level in this hierarchy that directly challenges that equation. An active protection system, APS, does something that sounds like science fiction until you watch the footage. A sensor array around the vehicle detects an incoming rocket or missile, tracks its trajectory, and fires a countermeasure to intercept it before it reaches the hull. Not reactive armor that detonates on impact. Interception, in flight, in under half a second. The Israeli Trophy system is the most operationally tested example in the world. It has logged multiple confirmed intercepts of anti-tank rockets and guided missiles in combat operations in Gaza. The system has now been integrated onto U.S. Army M1A2 SEPV2 platforms, in addition to Israel's Merkava Mk4 fleet. The per-vehicle cost of a Trophy installation has been widely reported at approximately $1 to $2 million on top of the base platform, a significant addition that most armies purchasing at this level treat as non-negotiable. The assumption that a well-equipped infantry squad can reliably destroy a modern tank is no longer universally true. Level 5 narrows that window. It does not close it entirely, but it changes the risk calculation for everyone in the engagement. And from here, the vehicles on this list stop being products you can find in a defense catalog. They become programs. Some of them are still classified. Level 6, the next generation platform. Russia unveiled the T-14 Armata at the 2015 Moscow Victory Day Parade, and the defense press spent approximately 72 hours calling it the most advanced tank ever built. The design places the entire crew, commander, gunner, driver, inside a fully armored capsule at the front of the hull, completely separated from the turret and the ammunition. The turret is unmanned. If the turret is destroyed, the crew is not. That is a fundamental rethinking of what a tank is for. The AbramsX demonstrator takes a different approach, reduced crew size. An AI-assisted targeting system that classifies objects in the sensor field before presenting them to the crew, not to make the firing decision, but to reduce the cognitive load of identifying what is worth engaging out of everything the sensors detect. That last part is the meaningful development at level 6. In every previous level, the crew looks at everything the sensors show them and decides what matters. At level 6, the machine filters reality before the crew sees it. It presents a curated battlefield. The crew still pulls the trigger, but they are working from a pre-processed picture. That is a different kind of weapon. And it raises a question the tank community is not done debating. How much of the decision do you give the machine before you have given it too much? Level 7. The manned node. Picture a crew of 3. They are inside a heavily armored vehicle, moving through a partially urbanized landscape at the edge of a contested zone. Ahead of them, 2 kilometers out, a small tracked robot, roughly the size of a golf cart, rounds a corner and transmits a live feed back to their screens. It has just identified 4 enemy infantry positions and the heat signature of a vehicle in a garage. The crew didn't go around that corner. The robot did. To their left, a second unmanned ground vehicle is holding a ridgeline, broadcasting electronic jamming that degrades the enemy's communications in a 400-meter radius. It has no crew. It receives instructions from the manned tank. Above them, a loitering munition launched from the tank's own system 30 seconds ago is circling at altitude, providing a god's eye view of the entire engagement zone. The crew did not leave their vehicle. They have eyes on 3 separate tactical situations simultaneously. When they engage with full awareness of what is behind, around, and ahead of their target, because robots already went there first. This is the U.S. Army's robotic combat vehicle concept, the AbramsX as the manned command node. The cost cannot be quoted per vehicle because the vehicle is not the unit of purchase. The architecture is. The U.S. Army's next-generation combat vehicle program, across all its elements, has attracted budget discussions in the range of tens of billions of dollars over the life cycle of the fleet. The crew at Level 7 is not a tank crew in the traditional sense. They are a command element. The armor around them is the last line of protection, not the first. Every tank at every previous level was defined by what it could do. Level 7 is defined by what it makes possible around it. The tank becomes the hub. The battlefield becomes the machine. If this was useful, subscribe. See you in the next one.